Welcome to the podcast, Appetite for Distortion, episode number 360. My name is Brando. This is a huge episode. One you probably want to watch. There could be pyrotechnics. I don't know, but I'm safe here in my apartment in Queens. Who do we got here on our panel? We got our old friend, Doug Goldstein. How are you, sir? How's it going, buddy? Where are you right now? You on
Kansas City, baby. Yeah.
Okay. I love it with your Guns N' Roses black behind you. Welcome back.
Yeah,
I'm going to get to my main guest, but Bill, because I'm distracted by your beautiful shirt that you're wearing. Bill Halliwell, a fan of this podcast from the UK. How are you, buddy?
I'm great. Yeah. Thanks for having me on. It's an absolute pleasure.
Awesome. And the reason why Doug and Bill are here today, we're going to meet Pyro Pete, who is... Pyro Pete, the name says it all. So if you clicked on this episode, the episode title, we're going to do a series of anniversary episodes with people that were on the Use Your Illusion tour, the one that lasted for 2.5 years. And last episode, I was talking to Brian Raleigh from Ultimate Classic Rock, and he's even younger than me. Pete, Doug, I'm sorry. Bill, you're probably around my age, but I'm 38. I missed it. So I missed the Use Your Illusion tour. So I have to live vicariously through Doug's eyes. As I've learned so much about his story, his background. Bill's going to hang out. We're going to try to see if we can even take some calls later for people who did go on and did see one of your pyrotechnics live and in person on that tour. But I want to get to meet you. You weren't born Pyro Pete. I'm sure Pyro was not your first name. So I kind of want to get to know you a little bit, where you're from, how you got started. Were you like Beavis as a kid, lighting fires? How do you get into your line of business?
Yeah, all right. So where you say you're Queens? Where are you?
Queens. Yep.
I'm from Long Island.
Where?
Uniondale, Nassau County.
I went to Hofstra.
I went to Hofstra.
You went to Hofstra too?
Yeah.
What did you major in? They didn't have pyro.
The theater.
Nice, Pete.
Wow. Okay.
But let me tell you the true story, though. You see, so growing up on Long Island, and yes, at an early age, I figured out that you could take a Cool Whip container, an empty Cool Whip container, and put gasoline in it and put an M80 under it, light it, and run away, and you would make a huge big fireball. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. So I've been a little pyro from way back when. Now, my mother worked at Hofstra University. So we got a greatly discounted tuition. So when I got thrown out of high school, my parents were devastated. And they said, well, the only way, you've got to go to college. You've got to go to college. Okay. So I went and got a high school equivalency. And then I was like looking through Hofstra at what they had, and they had a good theater department. So I was a theater major, but only for a year, because my friend's sister went out with a guy named Rob, who used to do the pyro for the Plasmatics, the old New York band, Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics. So I was a theater major. They needed somebody to help build props and stuff like that. So sure. So I started working for the Plasmatics, and they offered me, they were touring at the time. So I said, great, I'll drop out of college. So yeah, I went to Hofstra for, almost a full year, and then got a job in the industry. But at the same time, I was like working for a couple of different scenery houses that made scenery and stuff. So I was going to be a theater tech of some sort. But when the Plasmatics hired me, the Rob who got me the job, I used to help him do the pyro. So I would get there, I would help build props, I would set the stuff up, and then I would help him with the pyro. Then he was doing TV and movies and didn't want to tour anymore. And the Plasmatics were just getting popular. And touring for us in the day was, we'd leave on Wednesday, we would do Thursday, Friday, Saturday in the tri-state area, New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, we'd go down to Florida for a weekend and stuff like that. And Rob didn't want to tour because he was doing, as I said, TV and movies in Manhattan. So he taught me how to do the pyro. So that was the beginning of it all. So started working for the Plasmatics, and this was like 1980, like 1981, 1982. And the Plasmatics were good. You know, we blew up cars and stuff. You have a minute to, you know, Google Plasmatics and Wendy O. And we used to blow up cars on stage. We used to do all kinds of crazy shit on stage. We had a shotgun and she shot at the lights and the lights blew up and things fell down. And, you know, she just always liked putting theatrics into the show. It was a very heavy theatrical show. So that was it. That was my start. And then the Plasmatics were opening for Kiss. And the Pyro company that was doing Kiss was the manufacturer for the Pyro. So I knew these guys because I was buying a lot of Pyro from them for the Plasmatics. And then when we finally met each other, they said, well, after this Plasmatics tour, we could use a guy. So basically I went from the Plasmatics to Kiss to Def Leppard, Pyromania.
Wow.
That was so I did the Pyromania tour with Def Leppard. And then from there, it was, I met the production manager for AC/DC, and they had just built the cannons, and they were having some issues trying to make everything work. So I got signed on with AC/DC. So I've taken care of the cannons forever. And then, one thing leads to another, and then that led to Judas Priest and Iron Maiden, and that all led to Guns N' Roses and Metallica. So the early 80s was all my beginning of my career was AC/DC, Motley Crue. No, Motley Crue was later. It was AC/DC, kind of Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, Def Leppard, Kiss. And then I think then it started getting into Motley Crue and then Metallica. And it was all the good years, like, the Black Album, and Justice for All. That was my first Metallica tour, was Justice for All.
Oh
And like Judas Priest was like Screaming for Vengeance and all that. It was when metal was metal, and all of the years of Iron Maiden, Somewhere in Time, and all the really great Iron Maiden albums. So that time was just an amazing, like, that was the peak of metal. That was it.
I mean, obviously we're here to talk GN'R, but with just starting with Wendy O. Williams and the Plasmatics, you're talking about Pyromania. Literally, you can't get more of a peak of being a pyrotechnic than to do the Pyromania tour, the cannons of AC/DC. Doug was, I think, if anything, underselling you by saying you were the greatest pyrotechnic person in the world. What's the next level up? You've hit every dream scenario.
And I said this off camera, and I'll say it on camera now, guys. Literally, Pyro Pete is, I don't know one person who doesn't love the guy, and I don't know one person who wouldn't want to bring him into their scenario, because as a manager, what you do is, usually you have to, oversee the production and all that. But with a guy like Pete, you just go, dude, just go paint the canvas. I don't care what you do.
And that was one of the great things about GN'R is you guys, well, you and the rest of the band, and we'll have to talk about Axl separate, kind of knew what you wanted and just knew the flavor and didn't want to micromanage it. Just said, make this look great, which is easy because then, especially I was into the band. So it's easy to just start with a blank piece of paper and go, okay, well, let's do this and let's do that. What moments are big, what's the biggest songs, and, what do we want to dress up and what don't, So it was really good to be on it from the beginning and to really build that show. And then, even the beginning of it was a little shaky too, because I remember we changed cues around. Sometimes you think, oh, it works good in rehearsal, and you try and shoot it, doesn't look good. But everybody was cool with, going, hey, let's move this cue to that. It took half the tour to get it sorted to where we liked it. Yeah. And then you interject Axl into it, with, changing the order of songs and not doing songs. One of the greatest things was at the end of the show, we had like a finale. So if Axl didn't choose to sing, if they didn't play a Pyro song that night, we just rolled that Pyro into the finale.
Yeah,
so the
right.
finale just got bigger.
Here you go.
You know, it was like we're shooting it all every night. We're not, you know. So it was good fun.
From a manager's perspective, it was so nice because you don't tell Picasso how to paint a painting. You just go, you are the man. And to that end, it was a real blessing for me to be able to work with the very best in the industry. I had you when it comes to Pyro. I had Opie, right? When it comes to production manager.
Well, we had I mean, you had top notch. I mean, that was A-team all the way.
Bob Bender and Bill Greer, the security guys, and Bob Wine. I mean, these guys, you know, Pete, those guys are like the
yeah. I've worked with them on many other things. Bob, you know, with the Stones for years and years. So I mean, that was all, you know, that was all A-team. But it was also, like I said, it was a good meld. Like everybody got along, and you know, even though there was fighting and squabbling, it was fun fighting and squab, if there's such a thing. Yeah, I mean, there was never like, I'm gonna fucking kill that guy. It was always like, what an asshole. All right, and then tomorrow's another day.
Right.
You know.
So, Pete, I'm particularly interested in how you set up the Pyro for a song that everybody knows, "Live and Let Die," because that was a great song that you literally shaped the live production of.
Right, and it was, again, you know, it was interesting because that's actually kind of an understated, because for the Live and Let Die's bam, we just did Concussion.
Oh wow, okay.
It was just, and then we rolled in some Pyro flashes, you know, and then we built and built and built and built. So by the time we got to the finale, it was a huge finale because there's so many hits in that song. If you did each one the same, the kids would be bored.
Right.
You know? So like I said, the first couple of times we did it, it was a bang with flames. And then the second chorus, it was a bang with Pyro. And then the third chorus, it was bangs with airburst. Right. So each time the kids had something new. I mean, you know, because I've had this argument, you know, with bands, and I've had this argument with both Kiss and Motley Crue, where when you're sitting down and they're talking about adding new, you know, new stuff, well, you got to just look at them and go, you know, Nicky, Mick, whatever. Right now we've got every song begins with Pyro and every song ends with Pyro, and the kids aren't going to remember any of it.
That's right. Yeah.
You know, it's just going to become a blur. So with GN'R, we were able to take, which is my favorite thing to do, we were able to take songs and make it huge with the Pyro. Like, it's pointless doing a little bit of Pyro. If you're going to do a little bit of Pyro, just don't do it at all.
Right.
You know, and then you could do too much Pyro. So instead of doing that, why don't you take 4 or 5 songs and make those songs huge Pyro numbers?
Right.
Because then the kids are going to remember it. You know, they're going to remember, oh, Paradise City had that crazy Pyro right after he blew the whistle. You know, and Guns N' Roses had the flames, and then this. They'll remember it. Like, if you ask somebody at a Kiss show or a Motley Crue show, and I've done both of these tours, what was their favorite Pyro cue? They couldn't tell you because there was 100 of them.
It's overworked.
You know, but a GN'R show like AC/DC, everybody knew it was the Cannons. It was the Cannons. Those About to Rock. It was the Cannons. You know, Guns N' Roses, it was Live and Let Die. It was Paradise City. Now, we did have other songs that had Pyro cues, but they were all memorable, you know, big productions. So that's the way to do. I always tell clients, look, if I'm going to press the button, shit's going to happen. You know, if I'm going to press the button, it's going to be 100 things. It's not going to be 10.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting because as everybody, I'm sorry, Brandon, but it's interesting because most people that watch this know that I started in security, right? I mean, I was working those Stone shows, Pete, and I was working the Who shows, and I was working all these mega outdoor shows. And we never did it with GN'R because the guys always hung out. But I used to love the massive Pyro out, so the band can just
Yeah.
get in the cars and haul ass. So it actually acts as a deterrent.
Yeah.
People are watching what you're doing, and the band's in their cars hauling ass.
Yeah, well, that's why the formula for the Rolling Stones is there's an A and a B finale. There's a finale while the band is on stage bowing, which is like a small kind of 100-foot, you know, in the stadiums. And then once the band gets in the limos, then we go with the big finale. And it's just to keep the people staring, while the band gets the hell out of there, you know?
And that's something that's been missing off. Bill, I don't know if you've noticed. A lot of fans have complained.
I'm sorry, Brandon. I was going to ask Bill because I haven't seen a Guns N' Roses show. Right?
They're not doing pyro.
They're
So
not?
I don't know. I'm just curious. Is that a GNR decision? Is that do you see that more in rock bands now? Maybe because of some incidents that have happened?
Yeah, see, I'd love to ask Bill that question too. Bill, you've been to a couple of shows on the reunion tour. Is that your experience too? Is they're not doing pyro?
No, the most Aussie seem to have now is a big screen, massive screen at the back, and that shows all different kind of Guns N' Roses related artwork.
So let me ask you a question, Pete. Go ahead. Finish, Bill. I'm sorry.
They just have the confetti cannons at the end, if I remember correct. But
Yeah,
there's
that's all I got right now.
no explosions or anything.
No.
No.
So what would, if they were to add, Pete, pyro, what would a presentation like you did back on Use Your Illusion, what would that cost today?
What did it cost then? Can we ask that? Or
I can't remember what I had for lunch yesterday, and I want to know what the prices have gone. I mean, 20,000. I mean, different budgets. You know, there's
well, here's a question though to go along with that. I was thinking of, because how do you test this? And it's got to be these are expensive things to make. You know, obviously when you're young, you're MacGyvering things, putting it together. But these are professional things, I'm sure, with safety mechanisms. And it can't be the first time you're using it during the show, right? You got to test it.
I mean,
or not.
Well, no, it depends on, if you're talking about a flame system or pyro. So pyro, that we have a network of manufacturers that we use, and this guy makes these good and this guy makes these good, and we buy this from that guy. So the pyro we know, and then we'll talk to the band and we'll talk to the lighting designer, and typically there's an overall show designer, which is usually a lighting designer, and we'll talk about what colors they do or don't like, and if they have any color combinations that they want. Whereas GN'R was just like, big, just make it, fuck it. And again, going back to what Doug said, letting me do my thing.
Sure.
Like, I get it. Like, we've done shows where the band is like, well, everything needs to be, green, yellow, and blue. And it's like, it's a horrible mix of colors. It's going to look, but that's what they want. They're paying the bills. That's what they want, And then a lot of times I get asked too by lighting designers, well, they've seen something and they want to replicate it. And, it's like, well, why don't we make it different from the last one? But testing wise, so I would call the manufacturer and they could send me video. If, they would do some testing on their end for me, say we wanted to make a new mine with a color mix, a special color mix or something. So most of the pyro testing is done at the plant that makes it.
Okay.
So I would tell them, I'm looking for this, this, and this. You got a new video? And then they'd send me some video. I said, okay, we're going to use. And then, you really don't see the pyro show until you get to rehearsals, and then you put it all together. And that's when I was talking earlier. I said, it took a couple of months to get the GN'R show right, because, we wanted pyro on this number. Okay, so we designed some pyro. But then they put an inflatable, a big inflatable monster on stage. Well, okay, now we're going to move the pyro to another song because the monster was made for this song. So there's a lot of negotiation. There's a lot of give and take. And rehearsal is expensive. I mean, typically we'll go in, like for Ozzy, we would shoot it for him. So we'd say, okay, these are the cues, and we'd show him the cues. And then we would do a rehearsal without the pyro. And then we would do a rehearsal with a full pyro rehearsal, just so everybody's comfortable with it. And no, it's not cheap, you know? So that's for pyro. There's really not the tweaking that's done live, you know? So you get to rehearsal. If you came out with 30-foot product and you were told that the lights are, you know, you came out with 30-foot product and then all of a sudden the lights are at 28 feet. Well, we got to do something here, you know, versus like a flame system. A flame system, I would build it in my shop and I'd play with it. I would send you videos of it and we'd say, oh, okay, yeah, no, that's what we want. That's what we're looking for, you know, something like that. So flames you can test and play with a lot more. Pyro is kind of, you know, you kind of got to know what you're doing. And that's why you have to have a good relationship with your manufacturers and your suppliers. So, you know, when you order a 50-foot thing, it's going to be a 50-foot thing. And then we also have amongst ourselves in the business, we know that whenever you order anything from this company, it's 10 foot shorter than what they tell you it is. You know?
Can I just ask Brando there, did you think of Spinal Tap then?
To think of Spinal Tap?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
No,
with the,
yeah, no, I mean, everybody has had Spinal Tap moments. Everybody, I can tell you GN'R has had Spinal Tap moments with the inflatable getting unplugged and wilting during the song, you know, or the fan motor burning out. Or
what's funny about that is I was a tour coordinator for Dr. Dre's Up in Smoke tour, right? And I had told Paul, Eminem's manager, who to use for inflatables, right, from the old GN'R days, and he went the cheap route. And so the opening show, Eminem had these two fingers, and they went. I was cracking up. I'm like, you idiot! You should have listened to me, right? Go with the tried and true, baby.
That's funny, and it actually does remind me of, I think it was Spinal Tap on The Simpsons, where they had a devil that just totally deflated.
Right.
And I got
another, like, so if you want to talk about inflatables for a minute, so on the stadium when we were doing the festivals in Europe,
with inflatables, Pete.
and we had platforms. We had the platform for the inflatables, and we had like 3 or 4 different inflatables, and the different songs had a different, you know, and so GN'R, there was a set list, but the set list didn't really mean all that much. The set list, because Axl would do an audible and just, you know, I want to do this one next, or a song that's not even on the set list. So we kind of negotiated that it would always begin with this song, and this song will have pyro, and it will always end with this song, and this song will have pyro, and then these other songs would happen somewhere in the middle. So you had to be ready, like you couldn't leave the pyro board. You had to be standing by, and it would be like
hilarious. It used to be hilarious as the manager to watch him call an audible and watch everybody scream, right? I mean, even Adam Day, he has to change the guitar on slide.
Yeah.
Phil Ely, right? I'm watching Ely sitting there. You got to pull up something else. By the way, I wanted to ask you, you mentioned that the LDs sometimes have some lighting design, have some input. Did Phil have any input, or was he just like, go, Pete?
No. Because, you know, then me and him had to work on colors. Like if I'm shooting, you know, if I've got red and green pyro, and then he would stay off the red and green lights. He would give me complimentary lights. And then, you know, for the big pyro moment, because let's take Live and Let Die. So some of the Live and Let Dies, again, we did a concussion, and then we did some sort of pyro, and he would pull out on the lights, you know, go dim. And then other ones, we did the concussion, but no pyro, and he did the audience blinders.
Right.
You know? So yeah, you really have to work with the lighting guy, because the lighting guy could crush your pyro look with one finger, just turn on every light.
Makes sense.
And, you know, I mean, the pyro is going to look small.
Makes sense. Hey, let me ask the youngsters on the, Bill, I'm going to start with you, and then Brando, I want to hear your response. Bill, you mentioned, Brando, do you find it to be Spinal Tap? So would you say that having the pyro detracts from the show? If they integrated, if Guns, because that's why we're here, because we all have worked with them and or are fans of them. So do you think that it would detract from the performance, or would you like to see it, Bill? And then Brando, I'd like to get your opinion on it.
I like Pyro. I'm a big fan of it. I'm a big Kiss fan. I love Kiss.
Yeah.
And I think it's awesome in, stadium shows and all that.
Yeah.
But I also love, like, I saw Social Distortion the other week in a small venue. I love the small, raw, just the house lights things. But no, I don't think it detracts from it. I think it just makes it a bit more of an exciting show.
And Brando?
It depends. I think if you're going to go see a band like Kiss, Alice Cooper, like any hard rock band, it adds to stuff. But Pete made a great point earlier where if it's just all pyro, then it's distracting. It's just like, well, I'm here just watching a fire show with.
Right. Yeah. You're watching a fireworks show that a band happens to be playing at.
Sure.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So Pete, putting it back in Peace Court real quick, how much modern day would it cost to add the similar show to Guns N' Roses set?
I'm really not the guy to ask for that. I never did that. I put that to another office. I designed the show, and then what's this fucking thing cost? Who knows?
Okay.
But no, I mean, it's gone up quite a bit. I mean, all right, I'm putting together a show right now for a band. We go to rehearsals next week. The tour is August, September, October, and we're looking at 600,000 for the tour, and that's confetti, smoke, pyro, flames, a snow gag. We have it snowing for 3 minutes, and that's like a 5-man crew. Oh, lasers too, because we have a laser. We do lasers. So, and that's. Yeah, so I don't know, we could divide that by how many shows and you get a number. But, it's like things for us, like insurance for us keeps going up and up and up, and product keeps going up and up and up because, I look at what we did a show for 10 or 20 years ago, the numbers wouldn't even, like, oh my God, it would be night and day. I mean, easily a 10, 15 time increase on just everything that it takes to do it.
But it's commensurate with what ticket prices have escalated to.
Yeah, and that's but then again, it's not the cost of the show has. Let's just say if the cost of tickets has gone up 100 times, the cost of the show has only still gone up 50 times.
So you're actually validating my point as to why have gotten away from it because here's what people don't realize. I never had a ticket over $25 on Use Your Illusion. Not once. I don't care what the market was.
Yeah.
And
everybody showed up.
Method. You're not doing the Bruce method. You're not doing the Springsteen method of $5,000 seats. You didn't do that. That's where we're at now.
And even back then, there was Golden Circle. There was, people were using the Golden Circle. I would never do it. I just thought, you know what? I want people to be able to afford the ticket. Because I want the very best fans to be in the front row. I don't want the banker's kid to be in the front row.
Yeah.
I want the the raging crazy GN'R fan to be within the first 5 rows.
More legalities these days, like getting shaken down by health and safety and permits and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think that's what he's alluding to is when he talks about insurance. You're right. It would be insurance and permitting and everything else goes up.
Right. But you see, so insurance and permitting, I would think that what's gone up the most for us is insurance.
Right.
And then the second would be the actual cost of product. Right. Permitting and everything has gone up, relative to inflation, but permitting is still the cheapest, the cheapest thing. No, the insurance, and then, different bands, like for the Stones, we have to buy a more expensive policy. That's what they asked for, so yeah, it's, and again, that all goes back to what we were talking about earlier off camera. It's just not the same world.
Oh, it is.
That it used to be. See, I used to be able I could put a price together pretty quickly. Now I got to look at a sheet of paper because I got to remember, oh, that's right, this changed. Oh, we got to add that. Oh, it's just a totally different animal than what it used to be, But, going back to when you were talking about with the current GN'R show, so I can tell you a little bit of the background on it because I was there for the last Pyro show. So we were doing Pyro, let's just say pre-COVID, so a couple of years ago. And the last show that they did was at Caesar's Palace in Vegas. And Caesar's Palace had just installed for a previous artist, let's just say Celine Dion, I believe it was for her, 100-foot wide by 40-foot high video wall that had a slight curve to it. And when management saw that, they were like, wow, we could do so much with this. So they said, well, we're gonna get a huge video wall, and we're gonna put the Pyro up on the video, and we're also gonna put staging up. So the current GN'R tour is very little stage set. Everything is on the wall. Everything is on. All the money went into the video wall. They actually went with a smaller lighting rig because you're getting so much light coming off the video wall. So they downsized. They kept, the same size PA, but they downsized the lights. They downsized the stage set, and they dropped the Pyro. And now it's all, flames are on stage, there's fireworks. I mean, it's kind of cheesy. And if you've never seen Guns N' Roses, it's a great show. If you've seen the old Guns N' Roses, it's an okay show.
Yeah. I would agree with that.
Okay.
A lot of people don't know it. I think those that have watched this show or listened to the show probably do know, but I designed those stages, those big stages.
Yeah.
The one with the metal grating, and that was all my concept. And even when we took it out on the Metallica tour, and I had heard, by the way, that the reason James blew up is because Lars changed the pyro cues by putting the monitors under the stage.
Can you talk about that?
Without telling anybody.
Well, hold on. I'll tell you something. All right. Okay. This is, I don't care. Okay. All right. Here you go. So I'm working for Metallica, and I'm working for Guns N' Roses, right? I'm currently on tour with Metallica, and we start talking about the GN'R Metallica package, that tour going out. So now I'm going to shoot both bands. Lars catches wind of this and says, well, I don't want you shooting Guns N' Roses. I only want you shooting us. So I got to call Opie, the production manager at the time, and I say, look, Lars wants me, to pick a band, and, and he goes, all right, let me call Axl. Opie calls me back a little while later and says, how much do you want? Right. And I said, well, they're going to give me this. So he goes, all right, we'll give you that. And I said, okay. So now I got to call Lars, and I tell Lars, look, I didn't tell him this, but look, your little plan backfired.
Yeah, right.
And now I'm not shooting you.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
Lars had Tony DiCiaccio call Opie to confirm how much they were paying me. Then Lars calls me back to basically curse me out and call me a traitor and whatever. And I'm like, look, I really, I don't care. So now the ill-fated night, this is how long ago it was. And Doug, we might have to explain. I'm going to reference something to you kids. There used to be a thing called a Game Boy. Right?
Come on, I grew up with Game Boys. Come on, I'm 38. Yeah. I had a Game Gear.
So Metallica is playing, and I'm sitting on a road case because Guns N' Roses is going to go next. And I'm playing my Game Boy. And I'm playing a game, and all of a sudden I hear this horrific guitar noise. Crank, 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 crank. And everyone's like, James is hurt, James is burnt. So we all run to the stage.
Yeah, right.
So by the time I got there, they were, the medical team was bringing him off. Well, what happened was the guy that was shooting it, who was their guy, used to shoot it in Europe for them. They had moved, so like you said, they had moved some monitors, and they had moved a piece of pyro, and James walked to his spot. So he's playing guitar, so he's got his arm, he's like this, right? So the pyro thing is right here. So here's the pyro, and his arm was right here, and he walked to his cue, to his spot.
His normal cue.
And they shot the pyro, but then he did like a half a step and he actually passed his arm. So the pyro was coming up as he passed his arm through it. So it was like such a freak accident to happen, you know? So the pyro guys, James stopped. So the pyro guy hit the cue. Then James did that little half a step extra and put his arm right over it.
Wow.
And then the riot ensued. And then, yeah.
Where were you during the riot? Where were you? Were you hiding around?
I was spraying kids with a fire extinguisher.
I was going to say, he doesn't hide from anybody. If he
No, I
couldn't-
was like, fuck you guys. Well, it's like, to keep them off the stage. You spray the front row with a dry chemical fire extinguisher. They get the fuck out of your way. No, we were there. We were throwing kids off the stage. You know, we were just, some of them tried to get up there, and then it was grab the guitars after all the big ticket items, after the guitars, you know, were put away and a couple of other things. And then by that time, you know, we had a full wall of security and they were, you know, they were cleaning out the building. But no, that was not a couple of times I've stood my ground with a fire extinguisher.
Are you kidding? Not just an extinguisher. If it breaks out, screw the security guys. I'll take Pete on my side.
Yeah.
All day long.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Right, that's where I'm
really,
imagining you with just like your hands on, you know, triggers.
right. Yeah.
Explosions, like, you know, explosives around you, like Danny McBride in Tropic Thunder. Just ready
Yes,
to go
exactly.
crazy. Right.
I'd
So,
be
yeah,
looting the merch stand while that was going on.
what's that, Bill?
I'd just be looting the merch stand while that was going on.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Oh, no, that was the greatest thing. There were people like actively rioting and trying to get on the stage. There were people running for their lives, and then there were people just hanging back watching it.
Hey,
There was just
Pete,
people
I don't know-
watching
I
and
don't know if you
pointing
know
and
this.
stuff.
I don't know if you know this, but at the St. Louis riot, I got the guys in their cars with John Reese and the security guys, sent them to Chicago. I took my laminate, my shirt off, and I pretended like I was a band member. And I actually, you remember when they took the hose from the cops? Yeah, thanks, Brando. I actually grabbed the hose, right? They're like, fuck you, no. And one of the guys goes, he's one of us, give him the hose. Oh, dude, I laid these guys down. There's like 50 feet, they're sliding, right? And then I go out to the soundboard because I realized that Ely and David Kerr had never been in a fight, right?
Oh, right. Those guys.
There's guys jumping up and down on both of their boards. I'm knocking guys out right and left. And so I knocked this one guy out from the lighting board, and Phil Ely, who's the nicest guy in the world, right? He's kicking this kid in the head. I'm like, Phil, he's out. Leave him alone, dude.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my main thing, as kids got up on the stage, I was just pushing them back down.
Right.
And then, you know, I finally stood in the middle of the stage and took that fire extinguisher and just kind of hosed down everybody down there. I cleared it out pretty good, you know, because for us, I mean, you get these kids. So if you get up on the stage and you grab a drumstick, fine, you could stick that down your pants. If you grab a handful of guitar picks or even a microphone, what are you going to do if you grab a guitar?
Right.
You know what I mean? You can sneak a microphone out, but I've seen people, you know, try and grab an amp. Where the fuck are you going?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Are you going to walk out carrying a Marshall 4 cab? Yeah. And no one's going to go, hey, wait a minute, where'd you get? So, you know,
St. Louis.
yeah, that's, I mean, it's that they tried. They tried to drag the PA out. They tried to anything they could. They were dragging it outside.
Window screens, they pulled down.
Yeah.
I've got to ask,
What a hell of a home setup if you could put that TV screen in your
Yeah.
I've got to ask, why was he kicking the guy in the head? Did he just get a taste of blood or something?
I mean, what does a whiteboard like that cost, Pete?
Oh, 100,000. Those things are not cheap. Yeah.
Also, he was just defending his.
Yeah.
That's it. More or less, Bill. Just defending his turf, right?
Yeah, I mean, you're almost in a war zone. I got to imagine. I mean, it sounds like a war zone. I know, you know, some of Doug's stories, but then they hear your story. I'm just like, oh, this tour, this band. You know, Doug, I'll tell you, I spoke to Peter Napoliello recently, former senior VP of promotions at Geffen, and he calls me just to check in every now and then. He's been on the podcast just like with you, Pete, and For some reason, just like Doug, he likes to keep in touch with me and befriended me. And, you know, he had spoken to Slash recently, says everything is great in the camp, but he used this this term, and Doug, you'll probably get a kick out of it. He's like, anybody that has worked with Guns N' Roses has their hands soaked in blood of the Hydra of GNR. That's what he said. And so, I mean, this sounds like continuing stories. I'm gonna try to tweet out to get to see if people can call me. I'm gonna try to see if this works. I told you guys off the air, I normally use this phone setup for my actual job, working for Premier Radio Networks and iHeartRadio. So the phone.
I just have to say it. I'm having a blast on this one because there's 3 guys that I love on this call besides myself, and I get to introduce you guys to each other.
I'm telling you right now, we're gonna have to do a part 2 because every time you open your mouth, I'm like, oh my God, I totally forgot about that story. Wait a minute, and there's that. Oh wait, what about that one there?
Yeah.
Well, I was hoping you could tell me a story, a couple stories, Pete. One, just bring us up to speed currently, because the picture I used to promote you is you with Keith and Ron Wood. Like, how far back do you go with the Rolling Stones? Are you you're buds with them?
20 years.
Wow.
Yeah, 20 years or so. Yeah, I mean, you know, Keith and Ronnie and Mick, they're all really, really nice. Like, they'll say hello. They remember your name. They, you know, Keith and Ronnie, I get along with very, very well. And it's sad because they're actually very personable. I've been to a party at Keith's house. You know, I've been to a Mick's birthday party twice. I've been to 2 parties for Mick, and I've been to a party, you know, been to Ronnie's for an affair. They're genuinely nice people. I kind of feel a little bit bad because they are so popular and so recognizable that they need to have that little cocoon of bodyguards and stuff around them just so they can go get something to eat.
Yeah, some normalcy.
Yeah, they're really, like, you know, just hanging around during the day after sound check or stuff, you know, hey, how's it going? It's going to be good. You know, I mean, it's just, and I just see, for me and Keith and Ronnie, every tour I take a picture with them. And we started that like on the first tour. I said, oh, I'm a big fan. I got to get a picture. Okay, great. And then the next year I was like, oh, let's do another one. So I've got like 20 years of me and Keith and Ronnie striking the same pose.
Oh, that's cool.
And, you know, even to the point where we were doing a gig, an outside gig, and it was pissing down rain. And I was in the, you know, backstage and taking off my rain gear and everything. And I'm standing there, and all of a sudden I get pantsed, and the guy goes, let me help you with that. Boom. And it's Keith. You know, he just happened to be coming in, and he was like, hey, lads, I'm sorry about the rain. Let me see if I can sort this out. Because he carried a voodoo stick. He had his rain stick. And he would go out on stage and say, no rain, and do whatever, you know. So, yeah, he came in, you know, for sound check, and we were back there, like, as I said, you know, taking off our rain gear, and the guy pantsed me, and you just turn around. What are you doing? You pantsed Ronnie, Keith, you know? It's like, hey, Keith, what's up, you know? So they're genuinely just really nice guys, you know? And then if Ronnie, if Keith, and they all have their family, I was gonna say both Ronnie and Keith and their wives and stuff. Oh, here, come stand over here. Here's a cool place to stand. And they're just chat with them just like people, just like people in the shop, like the guy you would work with every day. So that's one of the most amazing things about them, you know, because people are like, oh, there's all the bodyguards and you can't get near them. And yeah, but if it was up to them, they would not have that.
Sure.
Yeah.
You know, and I think a lot of artists, you know, are get like that. A lot of, it's like this, the more big and famous you are, the nicer you actually are. It's something like the little guys that think they just got famous. Yeah. Those guys are assholes. Yeah, right. Those guys are just, but these guys that have been mega famous, any one of the AC/DC guys, you know, all these guys just, you know, just even like Slash, you run to Slash and you start talking to him about anything you want, cars, snakes, whatever. And then he's just a guy. Yep. So yeah, it's the people that have been famous forever are over it. It's
Right.
the people that just got famous. They're the ones that are assholes.
Like all the ones
right?
on
Like you dealt
TikTok.
with, Robbie.
Yeah, like the people on TikTok, they TikTok famous. They think they're somebody. It's like,
Oh yeah.
who are you? But let me ask, because Doug is certainly one of his favorite things to do is to tell people what Axl Rose is really like. But that he's a nice guy, he's funny. You know, he has a wall of people around him. But I get that. So
Yeah.
I'm just curious. Other than him calling audibles, what was your experience with Axl? You know, any like fun stories? Anything? Maybe he complimented you about a certain explosion that happened, or ever come to you with an idea, perhaps?
Yeah, you know, a lot of times you'll even get people that are supposed to be aloof and whatnot, but once they realize that, oh, this guy over here with the button can fuck me up, let me go say hello to this guy, you know? Let me go say, hey, what's up, man? You know, is it cool? Am I safe to stand here? You know, can I get closer to it? Axl is Axl's very professional, actually, aside from him coming in habitually late and all the other things, you know, that were more of his quirky persona. But once, you know, he's out there, you can't stand here, here, and here. Okay, can you put some tape down? Yeah, big red X, don't stand here. Great.
Yeah.
He's
I remember
very,
I remember that XP.
yeah, you put a big red X right here. You know, and then when we built, he wanted a motorcycle piano stool.
Right.
So I ride. So my buddies and me, my friend's got a bike shop in New York at the time. So we built this piano bench that was the rear end of a Harley. So it was from like the handlebars back. So we'd taken off the handlebars and it was the seat and the gas tank. And we had to lower the frame, but Axl sat on that. And we even wired it up that when he hit the sustain pedal on the piano, it turned the brake light on the motorcycle. You know? So the light would be on the whole time, but when he hit the sustain pedal, the brake light would flash. And he really liked it, you know.
Loved it.
We had a little interaction. He told me kind of what what his vision was and what he thought he wanted. And then when we built it, you know, he's like, oh yeah, no, really great. You know, we showed him, all right, this is the only, you know, you get on it here, you're gonna throw your leg. He's like, oh yeah, no, I know what I'm doing. I know. All right, cool. You know, he's childlike almost in his
piano with Elton John.
Huh?
Did he use that piano seat with Elton John at the awards?
I don't know. I know he's had it out a few times. We've had it out.
Yeah, on the entire tour. Yeah, Bill, I think you're right. I think maybe he did actually, because once.
Yeah, two pianos, didn't they?
Yeah. And Pete, by the way, I didn't know that you were responsible for building that. So thank you. He loved that, man.
Yeah, no, yeah.
He loved
Yeah,
it.
no, Opie came to me and said, because I remember Opie was like, you ride, was my Opie imitation. Like, yeah, he goes,
Classic Opie, man.
you know anybody can build this fucking thing? Sure, I know a bunch of people who can build it. All right, give me a fucking price. Axl wants a fucking seat. So no, Axl was like, yeah, you know, everybody, I don't know. There's people that are afraid of him. There's people that live in fear of him. There's people that, you know, try to avoid him. He's a quirky guy. He's not evil. He's not mean.
I do have a question for you, Pete, because this is kind of important as it relates to what I was trying to build. Did it feel like a family?
Yes.
Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
It was very, there were not a lot of people there that didn't want to be there. You had to, I mean, because of the audibles that the show could change every night, and because some nights you'd be there until, you know, 3 a.m. waiting for Axl to start.
Yeah.
You had to want to be there. You couldn't have taken it lightly. You know, you had to understand, you know, you had to understand what this job entailed. So I don't know, because there were people that didn't like it and quit, but the people that understood it liked it. And it was because I remember we were loading in somewhere in Europe and it was just pissing down rain. I mean, just crazy. And production came and said, look, we don't know if we're going to do the show or not. You know, we're trying to find out. Everybody just, you know, we'll see what's going on in a few minutes. So all right, a little while later, they said, look, it's not going to happen. We're going to try and postpone it for another day, but there's a pub up the street and we just made arrangements for the whole crew, 60 people. You're going to go up to this pub, free food, free drink. And then while we sort out, you know, are we going to reschedule the show for tomorrow, or are we going to load out tomorrow? You know, so just a little thing like that just means a lot to, so really, so we get to get out of the rain. We get to go to a nice pub and eat and drink, and then you'll let us know. So the little, you know, it's that's what makes it more of a family vibe, you know, to take care of the crew. And then the crew is, you know, all right, fine. We were in the rain for 12 hours.
I'd love to take credit for that, but it really Opie that would make calls like that. And I'd support it, of course, because my thought was always working with Guns N' Roses is tough. It's just tough, right? And like you said, you got to love it or you'll bail.
Yeah.
But those that were around, we wanted to make feel like a family, Opie and I. And that's why, and Axl did, and so the band members did as well.
Yeah.
You know, Axl would do his New York dinners. I'm sure you remember those, Pete.
Oh, yeah. That steakhouse down by the meatpacking ditch. Oh, my God.
We'd have to literally send Jerry Gendron, the tour accountant, in to settle the bill.
Yep.
And they were over $100,000, those boys.
Oh, no, and there were a couple of other times where it's kind of like Axl's way of apologizing, because I guess he would know that, oh man, I made everybody stay late, you know, 5 times in a row, and it rained really hard that night, and it's, you know, let's do a dinner. And then you'd get you know, there'd be a thing on production that says, hey, Axl's going to spring for dinner, you know, next week on the day off, we're all going to, oh, fantastic. So even like that, and he would go around and say hello to everybody, like go to table and say, hey, thanks guys, hey everybody, thanks for working hard, you know. And so it's the little interactions like that. Again, just remembering somebody's name, just waving at somebody, saying hello, you know. Now you got to understand too that right before the show, people are in a zone, people are a persona, you know, let them have that. But again, during the day for sound check and stuff, just kicking around, just being a guy, you know. So a lot of people have this like the weird, because they only hear the bad Axl stories.
Exactly,
you know?
which is why I try to uncover the other stuff. You know, that's why
I mean, I can tell you bad Axl stories, but you've already heard them.
I don't want to hear them anyway, because we all have bad days, and I don't want people, you know.
Yeah, wait, I'll tell.
And listeners do maybe, but I don't want to hear them.
I'll tell a bad Axl story that ends up good that Doug will like. Okay. So when they were going to get back together and do GN'R without Slash, right? We were going to start it in Europe, was the first show. So Tom Mayu is production manager at this time. And Tom, you know, gets it all together, and we're over there, and I see him in the bar the night, I see him in the hotel bar, and I go over and I talk to him. Hey, Tom, what's up? He's like, oh man. He goes, listen, don't say this to anybody. Don't tell anybody. I said, what? He goes, Axl's still in LA. Axl hasn't gone to the airport. He's changed his flight 3 times. And I'm like, well, yeah, but the show's tomorrow. He goes, I know. I said, well, what are we going to do? He said, we're going to go there. We're going to go there. You know, we're going to go. And if he doesn't show up, we'll figure it out. So in the morning, we all go down for bus call. Now, Tom hasn't said anything to anybody yet. And I see him, and he's like, got his phone in his hand. And I'm like, Tom, what's up? And he's like, and Axl's nickname is Big Red. Big Red, right? He says, Big Red's on the move. I said, what do you mean? He's on the move. He's going to the airport. He's going to the airport. I said, okay. We get there, and you know, we start loading, and we're eating breakfast and stuff. You know, we're kind of loading in. I said, Tom, he's at the airport. He's at the airport. And like a little bit later, it's like, Big Red's on the plane. Big Red's on the plane. I mean, we literally went there to load in that morning, not knowing if he was flying from LA to the UK or not. You know? So yeah, there was some crazy Axl things, you know? And then, I mean, the band did get upset with him coming on late. And if I remember, Doug, and I'll tell this story, because again, I would tell this story in mixed company. The band finally told Axl, if you want to go on late, that's fine. You're going to pay the overtime bill to the union.
True.
And that kind of made him not so late.
Yeah.
He was so late.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it was after Madison Square Garden. He came in 2 hours late, and it was some just insane overtime bill. Just, and so the rest of the band said, well, why are we responsible for that? You know? So they said, all right, Axel, look, you can still come in anytime you want, but it's on your dime.
Right.
You know? So yeah, the guy was quirky, but he wasn't a total dick. He was a nice guy.
We're all quirky. We're all quirky.
Yeah.
It's the thing that nobody realized, that whole late thing, because he was my best friend. I can tell you exactly where it emanated from, factually where it came from. He has the biggest fear of failing of any singer I've ever met.
You know, he wouldn't.
That whole showing up late is him spending 4 hours trying to get his vocals prepared. And if he makes a noise, you know what? You paid good money for your ticket. I'd rather just not even fucking go on stage.
Yeah. No, he was going to come out when he was ready.
Right.
Just like you're saying, because some nights too, he'd be in the dressing room and you hear him vocalizing, and it's like, oh, the show was supposed to start. It was like, all right, but Axel's still doing his vocal exercises. When he's done,
In fact,
come out and start the show.
Your buddy Keith had one of the greatest lines ever when Axel left the whole band, right? It's supposed to be a pay-per-view. And Brando, you know about the pay-per-view. Bill, you do too. But, you know, they're going to come out and do one song with them. And Axel left them waiting for like 3 hours during sound check. So I guess Jagger was livid. And so Axel finally makes it onto the stage for sound check. And Keith comes up to him and goes, look, man, I passed out in a fucking chandelier at 3 a.m. Where the fuck are you? Fine, man. That's a great line.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. If he can make it, Axel could make it. Wow,
Yeah.
I really appreciate these.
Well, you know what? Tottenham. Sorry to interrupt you there.
Yeah.
Tottenham the other week.
Yeah.
Axel's voice went. There was about an hour and a half late, and he came on and he had to sing in different keys and stuff. But he did it, and he did it all with a big smile on his face. He was lovely all night. He didn't look pissed off or anything. So.
Well, and that's one thing, you know, people like to, and you've heard me say this, Brando, but people like to trash Team Brazil. Now, I may not agree with everything that they do, but at the end of the day, you know what? I see that guy getting on stage and he's happy. And I was never able to do that for him. And so I literally, at the end of the day, I go, you know what? God bless Ben and Fernando. Literally, God bless him for what they've done, because he's happy. And all that I've ever wanted for the guy, because he was my best friend, just be happy, dude. Just enjoy your life. And I see him out there now, and he's having a good time. And clearly he's being communicative with Duff and Slash. That was never the case before. So I love it. I mean, I love it. I think that Team Brazil, as it were, they put this reunion together.
Yeah.
Right? Now we can bash them and sit here and talk shit on them all day long, but at the end of the day, they were able to do something that I wasn't, which is to put the reunion together, and I'm seeing Axel smiling. And I could never make that guy smile. I don't know how they're doing it, and I don't care.
Yeah, the bad mouthing doesn't, that's usually a lot from the fan base. I don't say it because I don't know these people, because of them. Somebody who I was not at the Use Your Illusion tour, as we discussed, neither was Bill. Because of them, I get to see Axel and Slash on stage for the first time, first times in my life, because I missed out on the original classic lineup. So the only thing is, so that's why I'm happy to get you peed on, and I'm always hesitant, because there are rumors I've been told after I've had Frank, Dizzy, and Richard on, that that Fernando was allegedly sent a text to all the quote-unquote non-famous members of GN'R, so not Slash, Axel, and Duff, to not do interviews unless they were approved by him, and I was specifically named. So that's why, even before this episode, which you're sure you can vouch for, I'm like, I don't want anything salacious. That's what I say. So, but as we've discussed about you have people around you, maybe physically at times, I understand the need to have kind of a metaphoric barrier around you to protect you and to protect this thing that's happening, because of how tumultuous Use Your Illusion that tour was, and they barely survived it. So I understand all of that, and why I'm grateful that I can get Pyro Pete on the podcast, that you're not saying no, that I can talk to Doug Goldstein too, because it's a crazy band that you guys know better than I do.
Yeah, and again, so back to Team Brazil. I mean, obviously, do I feel like I would know more about production? Yeah, of course I do, right? I've been doing it my whole professional career. And I offered to help for free. I really did. But, you know, I have, as most people know, I have issues with some of the guys. And until those are resolved, I don't know when and if I'll ever speak to them again. But I would have loved to be able to help them. I wouldn't charge me. Right? Or maybe whatever you want.
I'd love to see you work with GN'R again, Doug. That'd be like.
Well, I still love those guys, Bill, and you know that. We talk all the time.
Reunion now.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I always will love those guys. What has hurt my feelings, and Brando, you and I spoke about this recently, but what really hurt my feelings is that Slash writes in his book, and him and I were the business partners. That's it. Him and I, from day one, him and I ran the band's business. Because Axl was like so inside of his head that I didn't bother him with it. But Slash puts in his book that he knew from the beginning not to hire me as a manager because I'm a creep. And I'm like, dude, what? I'm a con man. What? What are you saying?
Well, come on, every manager is a con man because that's part of the job.
Yeah.
That is literally part of the job description. You know, you've got to be a bit.
But not with my band members, you know, Pete.
Right. That's what I mean. More of like selling. You're a salesman. You've got to cut the deals. You need that attribute
Absolutely
to survive in that job.
I would agree.
Didn't Slash sign a contract with Jerry Heller?
I don't know. You know, I have a Heller story that's pretty funny. I mean, the guy was, 110 yeyears old. He was on a flight, and his wife was like 27. And John Reese, the old tour manager, and I, and Pete knows John pretty well. But
Yeah.
we were on a flight. Our wives were coming later, and we were flying to Hawaii. And I saw him, and I was like, "Hey, Mr. Heller," I said, "Doug Goldstein," and I manage Guns N' Roses, and this is our tour manager, John. And he acted all nice. And so then he does an interview. And he said that we were hitting on his wife and he almost kicked my ass.
All right.
Like, dude, what? You what? He's 110. Dude, come on. They slap you and put you into fucking coach. But yeah, I had heard something about Heller, but who knows? I don't know.
I read it somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah. As did I.
Well, you know what? It's been kind of a blessing, even though, because like last episode, I spoke to, again, I mentioned I spoke to Brian from Ultimate Classic Rock, and he interviewed Slash last year, and I'm just like, oh, is it ever going to happen for me? But you know what? I'm glad in a certain way that I don't have access, that a lot of these interviews are challenges, because I get to meet people like Pyro Pete, whose stories aren't always told. And I mean, a Hofstra alum. I wouldn't have known that. You were we were the Flying Dutchman though back then, right? No, now we're the Hofstra Pride, but were you the Flying Dutchman?
Yeah, no, we were Dutchmen back then. Yeah,
Nice.
Yeah, because that's where I grew up in Uniondale. I grew up in the shadow of Hofstra. That's why my mother worked there. She walked to work, and then after like 15 years, like I said, we got to the point where tuition was next to nothing. So it was like, you're going to college, and luckily they had a entertainment.
So I'll just ask this, and maybe we can do a part 2. And I'm grateful for your time, and Doug's and Bill. Thank you so much for hanging out as well. But for someone who's from where I'm from, and you were talking about how you hang out with the Rolling Stones, do you ever just sit back and be like, whoa, this is my life? That all started with me setting ants on fire with a magnifying glass.
Yeah. I mean, it's still kind of hard to wrap my head around the fact that this is a job. Like, really? You want me to do that? Like, look, a couple of years ago, I got a phone call from a friend of mine, and he's like, hey, I'm doing something over at the Bellagio, blah, 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 blah. I need 300 feet of flame in the fountain, about 6 foot tall. I'm like, sure, I'll figure out how to do that. Like, I like that. Just come to me with whatever ridiculous, dumb thing you have, and I'll make it happen. So it's a blessing. It's such a fun job, and I do it all the time. I look back, and I think, I try not to be a dick about it, but you look back and you go, wow, I've done some crazy shit. And I think, wow, there's only a very small percentage of people on the planet that have done what I've done, you know, or been where I've been, and you know.
Yeah.
You know what I just thought of? What I need to start? I don't even know where to go, but I need to start a rock and roll crew Hall of Fame.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right? Because there's so many people that belong there. You know, the production manager, Benny Collins, right? A guy like him, or, you know, God dang it, the guy that did Jerry Sickles.
Yeah.
These are people
God.
no longer with us. I mean, and
You're
even,
right.
and even the managers, Doc McGee and Peter Mensch and all these guys that we love, and, you know, they
Go even back to Cliff Bernstein, the people that nobody even knows exist. You know.
exactly.
Remember the Pantera crew? They were almost as big as the band at one point. I don't know if you've seen
right.
the Pantera videos. Yeah.
You're right. They do that in sports Hall of Fames. You
Yeah.
see, even writers get it.
Well, the problem is, Doug, there's actually a couple of entities that are doing it, but it's not like there's that PLSN production live service or something. They do a yearly like roadie of the year, but it's more ass kissy than real.
Yeah.
It's like if you buy advertisement in their magazine, you could be company. So it's tied to a product.
You know what it is, Pete? You take people like you and I and you put them on a board and we send it to ballot and we send it to all the people that we know. And so it's legitimate. I'm going to get to work on it. I'll get to work on it.
That'd be awesome.
Concept.
In the meantime, you know, because we can do a Pyro Pete part 2.
Sure.
But also, Doug, to pay respect to some of these hardworking people, some of them that you've named, if you want to get some more crew members of the Use Your Illusion tour to celebrate more of the anniversary of this, 30th anniversary, as my cat's making an appearance. Blackie Clawless is here. He wants food.
Yeah. It's good.
Yeah, I had a long story short. I've been working the morning show all this week, producing it, so I have to get up at 3 a.m. And my wife was out late last night, and this guy just kept waking me up, meowing me. I go to bed like 8 o'clock to get up at 3, and he's just like, "I want food. I don't care that you're sleeping." But he's cute, and I accept it.
It's cute, man.
Sorry,
That's
I get sidetracked by cats easily.
all right. Cool.
Bill, do you have any last questions before?
That's always been something that pulled me away too, is another name for cats.
Yeah.
I've been chasing that most of my life.
Well, listen, let's do. My only question is, when are we going to do part 2? Because now I've still got 100 stories. I'm like, oh my god! And then there was that story, and then there was that story.
Yeah.
You know?
So let me get the screw in my mouth, as I mentioned, tooth, and see where I'm at, and we can schedule a part 2 after.
All right, I'm down.
And you know what? That time I will plan more accordingly and promote to get solicit calls. I mean, because I just tweeted it really, and you know what? I'm glad we didn't get any, because I really wanted to hear your stories.
Because Pete, that's something that I really wanted you on for, is to have call-ins, because
Let's do it again, because
people like Bill, right? That love the band but never saw you usually listen to it.
right. And the other thing too is like when you have call-ins, you get questions that like you wouldn't even think of, but they're amazing questions.
Sure.
You know, because right now, like my mind, I'm like, oh, wait a minute. And then there's this story, and then there's that story, and then, oh, that's right. There's it, you know, and then somebody else will ask a question out of left field for something I totally even forgot about. You know, so yeah, I'm down. Let's do it again, man.
It'll be good, because we got the major question, because this is just from a listener on Facebook. I just want to make sure I give him credit. JJ Kingsley, he wanted, and I'll give him credit. Like, how did you feel about the Metallica's Pyro guy messing up? So he wanted to know that.
I felt bad. I felt bad for him, you know, because it was, and James even said in interviews publicly, look, I wasn't wrong. I overstepped. I went one more step. You know what I mean? I missed my mark. So I felt bad for the guy.
But getting that big story out of the way, which was, I think, was the major story. Next time you're on, I can solicit and people can listen to this episode and questions, and we can be, you know, because again, I haven't taken calls to a podcast yet, so we'll see. I'm glad again. I wanted to hear you. I wanted to hear your story.
Thank you.
The Hofstra alum, which I didn't even know. Doug, why didn't you tell me? I wouldn't even been more.
I didn't know, 'cause I didn't graduate. I went for. You don't tell a lot of people. Oh, and I went for college for 3 semesters. You know?
Oh yeah, that's true.
Hey,
It's
you
not
know,
really-
this came up on my computer. Fans allegedly sneak in and set off fireworks in crowd at Dua Lipa concert. Amateurs, they're amateurs, Pete.
Yeah,
Doing it on the cheap.
there's so much I want to ask you next time about the way concerts are run today, and we've talked so many times about Axl stopping the crowd, and not every band, not our artist does that now. I mean, some do, but they're the Astro World fiasco that happened. So there's plenty more to talk about next time.
Yeah.
Bill, I guess before you go again, because you're I can't thank you enough for just being a listener of this podcast and joining and buying one of the 3 people that have my t-shirts.
Another one.
Thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you, Pete, as well.
Nice to
And
meet you, man.
could I just shamefully plug, I've got a Facebook group, Guns N' Roses merchandise / memorabilia. We've just hit 12,000 followers tonight. So if anyone's
Wow.
interested in the cool old GN'R merch or anything, just check
Oh, I
it
didn't
out.
know you run that site. I followed that page.
Yeah, you're on it. Yeah, that's me.
So to tie everything
sorry.
together then to Pyro. So Tim Tricoli, fans Blackie's really hanging out with me right now.
Yeah, Tim,
I'm going to open up Facebook. What's the group?
Guns N' Roses merchandise / memorabilia.
Love it. So Tim Tricoli, he is he was on an episode a long time ago, but he's a big Guns N' Roses collector. He contributed to the box set. He's contributing to the Use Your Illusion box set that's gonna happen at some point. But when I said that Pyro is coming on, so if you go to Tim, what is it? It's TricoliTim.com or something like that.
Yeah, he has Guns N' Roses collectors on Facebook. That's Tim's page.
Yeah. So I'm gonna show you. Share the screen, and this is the picture what he has. He has your shirt.
Oh, wow.
How about that?
He has your stage.
Yeah,
and
it's an old company shirt. Yeah.
Why
That's
don't we
great.
get one of those, Pete?
Do they still sell these? It's Pyro Pete with a flame, a skull and cross.
Well, what we did, for each tour, so either on the arm or on the chest, it would say, Guns N' Roses and the tour.
Okay.
So we never sold shirts. We gave them out to the crew.
Mm,
So he traded or borrowed or got this from somebody.
okay. Yeah, it's
Cool.
pretty badass.
Awesome.
Definitely pretty badass. So to tie everything together. So absolutely follow Bill's group.
All right.
Which is more followers than I do. So he's doing something.
All right. I'm on it.
Doug.
All right. I gotta run. I got 100 other things. I leave for rehearsals on Sunday, and then I'm back in a week, and then more things. So
Yeah.
That does it. That does it for this episode.
Pete, love you guys.
love you, brother.
Peace,
Right.
Brad.
That does it for this episode of Appetite for Distortion. When do you see the next one? In the words of Axl Rose concerning Chinese democracy, you'll see it. I don't know if soon is the word.